Barry, what stands out to you about Nebraska? And, what will be the challenge for them?
Yeah, they're big and physical. Obviously, the environment is a challenge. Playing on the road, such a place that's got such a great environment, crowd noise. Play with a lot of intensity up front. You can tell they play hungry. Really been playing well the last few weeks defensively too. Just another great Big Ten challenge.
As a follow-up, has there been a change that you've seen with the?
Yeah, they shifted a little bit. They did. After the Oklahoma game, they shifted, and so we've been focused a little bit more on kind of what they've been playing the last 3 weeks, and so there's been a little bit of a shift there, subtle shifts, but nonetheless there have been shifts, and in my opinion, kind of the way they've gone about things defensively.
So those first games, is it just more of like to understand personnel, maybe with more schematic scouting in those last 3 games?
Yeah, I'd say that's fair to say that the personnel hadn't changed, and the overall structure of the defense really hasn't changed, but maybe the influence of the shift in coordinators and kind of how they're going about business has changed to some degree.
Did you feel like you got done during the bye week? What you would hope? I know we talked about red zone last week. What was something you guys have discussed?
Yeah, obviously we went back and did a pretty thorough study on, what of all of it, the good, the bad, and the ugly of all of everything that's transpired so far to this point in the season. So it was always good to kind of step back and look at those things and say, look what we did well, look what we have done well, have not done well, and what we need to fix in order to continue to be an effective offense down the stretch. How can we enhance that? And so, but yeah, I thought just the open date in general, just the health of our players and the mental freshness. It was good to be back on the field yesterday with them, and you could see that they were, anxious to get back started and had a lot of energy for a Sunday afternoon practice. So I was really pleased with that. But I thought we accomplished exactly what we wanted to accomplish during the bye week.
When you have a red zone focus, do you focus more? Is it more red zone time on the field? Is it just making it a emphasis when you talk? How do you make it more of a focus?
Yeah, I think it's what I've always believed is that in a healthy culture, which we have here, is that players always give you what you emphasize, and so whatever that might be, off-season academics, whatever. If you emphasize it to them, they hear that, they respond to that, and so it's obviously something that it's not just something you just show up on Saturday and like anything, third down, being backed up, any situational football. We talk at length about that. Coach does a great job of helping us understand as coaches and players that the game, when you peel the game back, it's a lot of it's about situational football, and so it's obviously something that our players understand, but in particular, when you're trying to address an area of concern, it's not just a Saturday deal. It's a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday deal. So it's a little bit more of practice time devoted to some of those things, which kind of happens organically this week because we've come out of an open day, so we've had time to even though it's a Tuesday tomorrow, we're a little bit further ahead in our planning than we would normally be on a Tuesday in a quick turnaround game week. So it affords you the opportunity to maybe emphasize a segment more than others.
Barry, what are you getting out of your guards, the junior college kids that you brought in, and what did you think you would get from a development standpoint in year one out of it?
I think they've exceeded what you would think that you would have gotten just from any first-year player, and they have just done a great job. Isaiah was able to come in earlier than Zai. And I think for both of them, for what they've been able to bring to our offensive line, it's been really impressive. And they've just brought a great deal of consistency and effort and being sponges. They've just done a great job of coming in and trying to learn what Bart's teaching them and taking that to heart and applying it on the field with their natural abilities. And they both have plenty of that from a natural ability standpoint. So they have been an important part of what we've done, among other, transfer players and first-year players that have helped us, but those two in particular have just continued to get better and better each week, and we're going to need them to play well down the stretch and Saturday because I think we're just, as a unit, they're offensively with the offensive line starting to gel together and getting some consistency there has been good.
Barry, if Josh is able to go, what would that bring back to your offense this weekend?
Well, I mean, that would be, if you would take any position on our offense and say you would have a chance to supplement your offense, with a guy that has vast experience and productive experience, like Josh had last year as a true freshman. If you said that was a wideout and he was getting back, he'd say it's going to be a good thing for our offense. If it was an offensive lineman, it's going to be a good thing for our offense. If a tight end, and then obviously, so if you take what he's done in the past and to supplement what we've been able to do offensively, to get somebody with that experience back in the fold from a game planning standpoint and an offensive standpoint, it'd be a real positive thing for us. And so he's worked really hard to get himself back in position to, I'm sure that's a lonely world. I've mentioned that before, when these young men go through these injuries and they miss significant time, that's a lonely world for them to be in. A lot of time away from the field, a lot of time away from the game, a lot of time in the training room and the training staff. And he's really committed himself to get to attacking that in his recovery and from his injury, and he's put himself in position to be close to, I think to be able to getting back to helping to make an impact on our offensive team.
How do you maybe try to exploit, what you did in the bye week this week in terms of making you, dive a little deeper, or do you mention good energy on a Sunday? Just can you maybe feed off the players who are kind of itching to be back out and doing stuff?
Well, I think just in general with the bye date, the schedule is really set up well for us just overall throughout the course of the season, and I don't mean that favorably from the who we're playing, but just the timeline of the way the season's unfolded. To be able to play a 3 and then a 4 game, and then to play those 3 games back to back to back that we played, in our conference, and to be able to hit the reset button, both to get them refreshed and recharged mentally and physically, I think was huge for us from our team standpoint. Coach has been talking about it for a long time now, and it's unveiled itself in a really nice way for us. And so to be able to take advantage of the momentum that we've had, that we've developed, the way that our players have played over the last several weeks, and combine that with being able to recharge their batteries, I think you saw a real fresh team. And we'll need all of that Saturday to go into Nebraska because they're coming off the same thing, and they're refreshed, and they've got a lot at stake as well.
With the line and having new pieces involved, did you guys enter the season thinking it might take a little bit of time to hit that new? Is there a moment or anything that you maybe kind of can recall, either seeing film or in a game where you thought it was starting to, those pieces were coming together?
Well, I think, I personally was pretty pleased with where we were at and after spring. I didn't really know what to expect coming into it, and because I knew that we had lost a lot of production, a lot of players that had played a lot of games had moved on. And I felt after the spring, I felt like the offensive line was the strength of our offense leaving the spring practice. Just nobody really asked me that, but in my mind, I thought just their consistency and their development was going to be a strength of ours, and that has held true. And but yes, to some degree too, you knew that there was going to be some growing pains within games of playing with each other for the first time in a new system, playing side by side with each other. And so I think you've seen their work ethic and the coaching that they've received from Bart and his staff there that has they've just gotten better and better each week, and they're hungry and they're all eyes and all ears. And we only go as far as they lead us, and they've led us quite well so far at this point, and it's going to continue to get tougher and tougher each week. The more success we've had running the ball, the more attention that brings to trying to defend that and stop it, and so it's going to create more and more challenges that require that group to lead and play well for us to be successful.
Coach, did you go out on the road recruiting?
I did.
What kind of reception did you get?
Yeah, it was really positive. I think no matter, right now, if anybody pays any attention to college football at all, whether you go to California, Florida, you're in state, you go to New York, wherever you might go, I think people recognize, the success and the type of year that we've had to this point, and it creates a buzz and a conversation. So that's always nice to go on your open date, being 6-1 and having, representing the University of Illinois. I think that's a positive thing. I've been a part of bye dates and, wore different logos where, you were 1-6 going to the open date. Sometimes you went in there with just your, maybe you didn't have your logo on, so it's nice to be able to wear that. It's a good thing, a lot of positive momentum. We got to continue to, obviously the challenge for us is to capitalize on the momentum that's being created and can keep that going, which, will be a big deal Saturday at 2:30. It'd be a great challenge for us.
Barry, when you talk about self-scouting,
Yep.
do you rely any on your defensive colleagues and go, hey, are there tells, are there things that you can scheme up on us that I'm just not seeing?
Well, we did that some during fall camp as we got to know each other. You know, a lot of that came from there. I think we kind of broke up this week and looked more internally about
Okay.
what we can control. But, you know, one of the things that's been to a man on this staff defensively, I've had conversations with them through the course of spring and the summer going against each other about asking them what they see, you know, what we do well, what do you think do we do that causes you problems? And those guys have such a great feel of, you know, just football in general, and obviously the way that they coach and work with each other is really impressive. But those guys have been very helpful to me, you know, all of them, and each of them have had a vast amount of experience in their past too. So it's been fun to have those conversations. Sometimes it's happened on the golf course, but sometimes it's happened in the office too, about what they see and what we could do better to enhance our offense, and have a great respect for those guys' opinion.
How do you like the functionality of having 6 linemen who are getting meaningful snaps? Like, what does that give you, and really cons to trying to get 6 guys in there?
No, I don't think so. I think that the way we've kind of settled in at the right guard position, where Jordan and Zai have kind of shared to some degree. I don't know if it's been 50. It hasn't been 50-50, you know, the rotation. But I think, you know, when I think we ran close to 90 plays against Minnesota, and you know, our volume of plays has you know, we play a high number of plays during the course of the game when we're playing well. I think Zai in particular benefits from that 20 to 30 play break, and Jordan's come in and done a nice job. Not that other guys wouldn't benefit, but I think that's helped Zai to continue to get better and better as he takes that break. So I like the rotation, the way it's set, and you know, we've been fortunate to stay healthy there, and it's really kind of been the gist of the rotation at this point, and probably be that way moving forward.
Barry, in an ideal world, the offense coordinator comes in, he goes, handpicks a quarterback, and this was kind of more of an arranged partnership with you and Tommy. Like, why has this dynamic worked, and why has it been successful? Like, and how has that relationship grown?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I think we've talked about that,
Yeah.
you know, before, and even Tommy and I think have had that conversation. It was like, hey, you didn't, you know, our parents did a nice job of arranging the marriage, you know, is what it came down to, you know. It's what is that show, is that Love at First Sight or Marriage at First Sight or whatever? It's kind of what we went. We just kind of showed up at the altar together, and there we were, and it's worked out pretty well from that perspective. It's been, you know, obviously, you know, super thrilled that Coach had been aggressive in recruiting him and got him here in the program, and then and he didn't know what to expect from me, and you know, from a scheme standpoint, we shifted, to be honest with you, probably what he was expecting to play in, and really at the end of the day, it's probably really worked out very well for both sides, because I think he's really kind of perfect for what we're trying to do. He's a really natural fit for what we're trying to do offensively, and I think we've been able to, you know, showcase some of his skills more. And I think there's more to be available in that regard, you know, as he continues to settle in. And we're halfway through the season now, where he's got a really good feel of what we're trying to do, and his instincts have really kicked in lately.
Is he the kind of guy you look for moving forward? Just the dynamic skill set, I guess, that he brings? Is he kind of a model of what you want moving forward?
Yeah, I think that they're all come in different shapes,
Yeah.
shapes and sizes, and you know, backgrounds and all that stuff. But yeah, I think the way he gets rid of the ball and how quick he gets rid of the ball is something that's important. And I think he moves well enough to create plays on his own. I mean, he doesn't run 4.5, but he can run, and he's made a lot of plays with his feet already. And that's always a good thing when you can find somebody that does that. So yeah, I mean, I don't think you can go out and say we're going to go cookie cutter and look for, you know, a guy just like Tommy DeVito, but I think just seeing his skills apply to what we're doing offensively helps me and helps us focus in on, okay, these are some of the attributes that you're looking for. And, you know, I think his greatest attribute is the fact that he's a winner and a competitor. But obviously there's some physical traits that do fit well, and to, you know, being in the shotgun a lot of the times, having a read on a lot of things, and having a lot of things that he can do to get rid of the ball really quickly. I think that's those are all some of the common denominators that you're looking for.
Is there something
About 1
about
minute left, Coach.
the 19 play 9-minute drives that makes it more difficult to punch it in at the end, as opposed to maybe you can get like a chunk play and a couple, or maybe moving it that way?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I mean, just statistically, just the odds, the more plays you run, the more more things that could happen to inhibit a drive, you know, I mean, a penalty, a loss of the TFL, you know, that's a lot of calls. It's an extraordinary, or it's an extravagant amount of plays really for football in general. I mean, to have that many plays, I mean, it's hard to piece that together to say you're going to have an 18 or 19 play drive and in particular only have 3 points out of it. So, yeah, I think, I mean, you know, we, you know, like for the great example, the touchdown we had against Minnesota, the first one, you know, it was maybe an 8 or 9 play drive, and we scored from 40 out. I mean, we want to try to score from far. You know, that's one thing that it's a positive thing when you don't have to get down there in the confined field spaces. We like moving the ball and getting down there. So however we got to, you know, however we can get the score, we're going to take it. You know that, but yeah, I think that's one thing that we can improve on is having a chance to score and having create some more chunk yardage plays to where you don't have to rely on, you know, running a 15 or 17 play drive. Now, one of the things about those drives is there's a lot of execution inside of those drives that's required, and we did that at a pretty high level. But when you run that many plays, it's a little bit of a ticking time bomb because it's hard to, you know, it's hard to execute that many plays in a row without having a breakdown. And so, to your point, you know, it's one of the areas that we need to get better at is to maybe create more opportunities, more explosive plays to where you don't have to have as many plays to get down there.
Well, good.
Good.